Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who's joining in. And welcome to the second session of Graduate's Guide to the Job Markets with our special speaker, Ms. Yusra Smail, an online event organized by BioPetro and Arab Guru. My name is Sarah Khalel. I am graduate petroleum geophysicist from the University of Boumardès, Algeria, and I will be your moderator for today's session. Following up our first enriching session about how to get a job in a competitive market, today Ms. Yusra will be focusing her presentation on how to write a winning CV. So before we start, please let me take a moment to introduce our guest for today. With no doubt, Ms. Yusra has an extensive and outstanding career. She's the HR manager in one of the most promising tech companies in MENA region and USA. With more than 10 years of experience in diverse industries, she holds an MBA in Global Management from Islaska University, Paris. In addition, Ms. Yusra is a certified trainer and coach. She was able to manage and train many HR persons throughout her successful path. Besides all that, she's one of the active people standing up against bullying, which is something very thoughtful and admiring. Thank you for that. A note to our participants, please don't forget to drop your questions in the Q&A session below, so Ms. Yusra will be able to answer them. So with no further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Yusra Smail. It is such an honor having you today with us, and thank you for coming. The mic is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for this very nice introduction. And I want to say hi to everybody who's attending today and people who attended last time, and they are joining today to know more about this journey that we started last week. We have a journey we started last week on how to get ourselves prepared for the different types of job markets. And today our stop on this journey will be handling how to present yourself on your CV or your LinkedIn profile. And let me start by telling you that today we're going to consider this piece of paper or this CV or this email that you're sending to the hiring manager or the HR person is your selling paper. You want to present yourself as much as you can, reflecting your benefits or your features on a piece of paper, which is very challenging to do. This is why you have to exactly know how the HR person is thinking, what's on their mind when they are checking out the CV. And again, I prefer to call it a competition because let me give you an example. For example, I was hiring a position of, let's say, maybe a customer service agent. I posted a job ad on one of the platforms on Thursday, and then I went for my weekend and I came back on Sunday to check my email. Guess how many CVs I have received? Give your wildest guess. 900 CVs. Can you imagine? So bearing this in mind, and you are the applicant, you can imagine how many seconds or minutes I'm gonna give to each CV to filter it or to check it or to screen it. Knowing this, you have to grab my attention or the HR person attention in few seconds to exactly know that this is the person I'm going to qualify to the next step, which is the face-to-face interview. Today's journey, we will be talking about two types of filtration, the human one and the robot one. And by robot, I mean there is some of the application that HR sometimes use. It's called the application tracking system. So when you apply, it doesn't go through to an inbox of a human or an HR person. It goes directly to a system that's filtering the 900 CVs. So it saves time for the HR. So we're going to handle both channels or both sides. If your CV was filtered by a person and if your CV was filtered by a machine or a system. Okay, And bearing in mind again that this is our selling paper. This is where we are going to show off our experience, show off our features and value to the company. And this is very important that you have this in mind. Okay, let's start by the what does the CV consist of? It consists of your name and your contact details, and the very first part that you need to have on your CV. That's usually the first thing that grabs the attention of the human screener or the HR person is your personal statement or your like the value statement. Usually in most CVs that I have seen or checked, people put a very generic statement and usually everybody copy pastes it from their friends' CVs. And let me tell you that this is one of the very dangerous things that you do, because if you do this, I'm going to scan it and like just pass, okay? You are trying to help me to check out your CV in a couple of seconds and decide that this is a winning CV, that I want to meet this person. So make sure to make your statement, this statement, very customized to reflect who you are and what's your values, what are your values, to match with what I'm looking for. For example, if I'm looking for a customer service person, usually most people will be writing, I'm a very talented employee that's looking for a job to utilize my skills, right? Everybody, usually this is the most generic statement that everybody's writing. Again, this is a pass CV, like I'm gonna pass it. And let me mention a tip. This personal statement should reflect who you are and your values, and to make it about the company. So, okay, I want to know, of course, more about you, but let's make this in the interview. Now I want to have the answer to the question in my mind, what add or value that you're going to give to me. So I'm going to give you pay to you to add value to my company. So you have to make a very smart trick in this statement, is to make it about the company. For example, on the customer service example, you're not going to write, I'm a very talented employee, I want to make use of the company to utilize my skills. No, you have to answer the question of what value you're going to add to the company. So, for example, you're going to say, I'm an energetic, committed employee that I have amazing communication skills that I'm going to add value to the company by providing the most excellent customer service to your client, for example. So this grabbed my attention. Now I want to see more who's the very confident person who's sure that they are going to provide me the A service for my company. And writing this, I never recommend anybody to lie about anything related to their CVs, because if you lied on this piece of paper and I've met you in an interview, I'm going to discover it's all a lie. Okay, so I always encourage everybody to be very truthful about whatever they are writing on their CV. So let me take you a step back before writing your statement, because formulating a very personal statement that's reflecting your benefits and features and values and still matching it to the company needs more work than it seems. So let me take you a step back. And I wanna you guys to share with me on the chat here what are the colleges that you are in, or what jobs that you are seeking to find, okay? So I can give more relevant examples to you. So let's get back to a step before writing your CV. Now let's still keep this customer service example. And let's say that you are a graduate from maybe Faculty of Commerce, and you want to start your career in customer service. You like helping people, and you want to start a career in customer service. So I want you to make the search about all the responsibilities needed in this job, all the requirements, the skills, everything related to this job. For example, a customer service person may be needed to be proficient in one language, maybe English or Arabic or French or German. So, are you proficient at this job, at this language? Do you speak this language fluently? Can you write using this language? So, you're going to have all the requirements, maybe English language, maybe writing skills, maybe communication, maybe presentation skills. This is the soft skills. And the hard skills related to the knowledge, related to the job. Does this job need any hard knowledge, hard skills? For example, in the HR, yes, I have to be aware of maybe the payroll cycle, the recruitment process, the interviewing, to know the interviewing process, different or a pile of knowledge that I have to be aware of and to be proficient at. And I have to compare. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for helping. You have to start studying exactly the job that you are looking for and list down the hard skills, the soft skills, everything related to this job, and start comparing, do I have what's needed for this job to apply and win at this job competition, as I like to say about it. In case you are matching with everything related to this job, it's going to be easy. I'll take you to the next step. But let me stand for a minute here with whoever is going to make this comparison and discovers they are not matching with the needed hard or soft skills. You have to do your job then. You have to study. You have to increase your knowledge. You have to do your best to close the gap between where you want to go and where you are at now. Okay, so let's say that you have took all the needed courses and everything to go to the next step. Now, you have to know and discover exactly what you stand for. It's not only about the job now, it's about who you are, what you stand for. And I'll give you a very simple example about this. Let's say that you match the job 100%, but you have a very specific value that's not matching with the company's values. And I'm not talking about deal-breaking values. I'm talking about very simple stuff, like, for example, a company may be valuing work only, no work-life balance, for example. And this is one of the values that they want to make sure that it's matching with this person, at this job. If you are appreciating more to have a job with a work-life balance, you have to be aware of this. Because let's say that you didn't realize this at a very early stage and you got hired, and then you discovered that people at the job expect you to stay long hours, to do extra effort, and this is not something that you would like to do. You're going to quit, but like as simple as this. You're going to quit, maybe spend there a few months, and then you're going to quit. So this this competition or this job search, it's not all about them. It's again as well about you. You have to know exactly what values do you stand for, what do you want, what conditions can you accept at work and what you cannot accept at work, and be truthful to it. Be truthful to it. So let's say that now you're ready. You have all what's needed for the job. You have everything ready, and you are fully aware about exactly what you want, what you like, everything. Now, write your statement, and I have a couple of questions that can help you to know exactly how to reflect yourself well at this statement, plus matching it with the job through, as I was mentioning, reading what's needed on the website of the company, and maybe checking people on LinkedIn who work at the same company. And let me give you like maybe a couple of questions that you need to think about to be able to reflect your best thing on this statement. What is the one thing that everyone says you are amazing at? Maybe if your friends and maybe your colleagues doesn't tell you, maybe you can ask for comments. And if you were attending last session with me, I've told you you can go for assessments, something like Myers-Briggs personality assessments, know exactly your strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Maybe the second question, what gets you excited? What do you like to wake up, or what makes you wake up at the morning to do? What job, what hobby, what exactly? Maybe another question, and you write it down and think about it. What have you accomplished? And if you have less than 5 years of experience at any job, maybe think about something you have accomplished on a sports level, maybe at college, in an internship, in any activities you have participated in. Okay, thank you for the guys that's writing on the chat their college and stuff. Okay, maybe another question. What are you proud of about yourself? Are you a good friend? Are you a good communicator? You have to be fully aware about yourself, because this is what you're going to present in the CV and later on at a later stage on the interview. And it's very important that I, as an HR person, to feel that you really know what can you bring to the table, what values that you can bring to the company. Okay, if you're not aware of, or if you couldn't answer those questions, maybe you can ask for help. You can ask your friends or family to help you out and guide you on exactly what are you good at. So now we know what's needed for the job, and we know exactly who we are and what we stand for. Your statement should be the very first thing on the CV should not be more than 4 or 5 lines. It should be, I prefer to call it a brand statement or a value statement. And you have to mention something about you that's going to bring, it's related to the job, and to mention why it's very important for the job, as I've mentioned like a couple of minutes ago, to say that I'm like a talent. I'm a very good communicator, an excellent communicator, that I'm going to bring an excellent service to your clients. And you have to make sure that every statement that you're writing is matching with the job. So if I, for example, if I wrote this statement and I'm applying for an engineering job, maybe the best communicator and bringing service to the client is not the best or something needed for this job as an engineer, for example. So you have to customize every statement that you write to match with the CV, with the job that you're applying for. Okay, so this is the very first thing that's attracting the eye of the HR person. The trick that I'm going to tell you now, it's very uncommon, but it really works well with everybody who used it. To have a testimonial from someone that you have worked for or with, and they can write something very good about you, to put it right after or below the statement. And why is that? Because people, if you have attended last time with me, I was telling you that people like to know opinions of your work, not from you. Like, of course, I'm going to tell you the best things about my work, because it's me. I'm not gonna tell you bad things about my work. So the tricky thing is that when someone is telling that, yes, she's a very good worker, she's hardworking, and gives like a testimonial on my work, it works like a charm, because people really appreciate a review. I have tried you as an employee and as an employer, and I really appreciated your work. And here I am, I'm giving a good word on this person. So if you don't have this, you have to think about who can write a testimonial. And it's not going to be a long one, it's going to be just a couple of sentences, maybe, just to mention that one of the very good aspects about you. And let me give you an example. I've heard it, someone was telling me about how this worked with them. A very hardworking like employee, and she stayed for a company for long years, and the company has passed through a very hard time, and they had to like let everybody go. It was an economic condition for them at the country, and they had to let everybody go. And this lady, she was trying to update her CV to try to get another job, and she was sitting with the HR person, and she was asking her for help to make over her CV. And the HR person asked her, so tell me something about you, what's amazing about you. And she told her, I didn't take any sick day for the past years. The HR person was really amazed. Okay, this is very uncommon. So you're very committed. She said, yes, I'm very committed. She asked her if her manager can recommend this about her. And she said, yes. And she went to her manager, and he wrote a very nice testimonial about her, that how she's very committed, how she always takes responsibility, stuff like this. And she put it on the top of the CV right after the value statement. And she got 4 interviews just because other employers believe that if her manager was ready to give such a testimonial about her, then she must be really amazing and she have high commitment. So again, if you don't have a testimonial now, just go for maybe if you're still at college, go for the professor, ask them to write a recommendation in a couple of sentences to put on the top of your CV, and it's going to be looking like a quote to write the recommendations sentences, and then write who recommended you, like the name of the professor or the name of the employer, and where they are working, if it's a college, if it's a company, just because like a recommendation without having a person saying it and to exactly locate them, it's going to be like valueless. Like with no value. You have to, because I can write something and said, okay, this is a testimonial, and with no name on it, so it's me who wrote it. Okay. Now we have put the very first 2 things to grab the attention of the reviewer, so they maybe got interested to check the other content of the CV. If you have more than 5 years of experience, you have to start with your work experience right after that, and you start with the newest, the most recent job that you are at now. And to have a chronological like listing for the jobs with the time that you have spent at this job. If you are having less than maybe 5 years of experience, you can start by writing your college. Right below this, to write the college, and then to start with the experience. And if you have less than that, maybe you can mention if you have done internships that's related to this job, or courses that's related to this job. Okay? Now, when you're writing the part of the experience, you have to write the title, the company, and the duration, and to list down achievements Your CV is not the place to mention a job description, because everybody knows the job description. I can search for a job description if I wanted to read the job description, but I want to see exactly if you have done any achievements related to this job, and try to think of 3 achievements that you have done at this job. Maybe you have saved money for the company by doing the right thing. Maybe you have saved a client from being for this company from losing this client. Just think about it. You have to do some work in thinking about what you're going to write at this part, and write things that's really it was your achievement. If you were a part of the team that achieved this achievement, you have to mention that it was a team achievement, not yours only. Sorry. So now, after you have mentioned your jobs chronologically, there is something tricky I wanted to tell you about again, or as well. Now, let's say that you are applying for a personal assistant job, for example, and you have been working at a company that called the personal assistant as a helper, for example. They used a totally different word to describe the job. Some companies like to do this. Some companies like to call the jobs with different names as part of their culture. Like, for example, one of the companies here in Egypt, they call the delivery person a delivery hero, for example. So again, if you are applying for a personal assistant job and you were working for a company that used to call it helper or something else, you have to be very aware of this, because if, for example, you wrote, yes, I've worked as a helper, and usually the HR person just looks at the title and scans or skims the CV, doesn't go through everything specifically if it's not related. If you wrote it's a personal assistant job, and then I can start reading the rest of the achievements. But if you wrote a helper, I'm not gonna bother reading the rest. So you have to put the title that's really matching with what you used to do, even if the company didn't give you this title, but still it's the same job responsibilities and job role. So don't fall for this point, because many people lost their chances to get a job interview because they just wrote the title as it used to be in their other companies, and they lost the chance to get a job interview. Okay, so now, when you are writing down your achievements, you have to make it as dynamic and energetic as possible. You have to look up the verbs, passive verbs and active verbs. Use don't start the sentence with I was responsible for. No, start with responsible for, etc., etc. Use, and I want you to do this as an exercise to check for active verbs versus passive verbs, because active verbs give more energy to the statement, what you used to do and how you used to handle your responsibilities and achievements. Okay. And use as well adverbs to put vibes and energetic vibes to the sentences that you're writing in your achievements. Like, for example, smartly led the team to achieve more, blah, blah, etc., etc. Make your sentences very energetic, and I encourage you all to look up these types of verbs. You're going to make the search, it's very explicit. Active verbs for the CVs, for writing in the CVs. And it's going to be a list. You choose from it. Okay. what if you had a gap at your maybe employment history? Maybe you have worked for a year or something, and then you something happened, and you stay jobless for maybe a few months. What do you do about this? Because it's very tricky. Do you have any idea what you can do? If you can share with me some of the comments. Let me ask you, do you mention it in the CV or not? If you have a gap in your career, do you mention it in the CV or not? I just want to make sure everybody's engaged with the conversation here. So write me in the chat. Are you going to write about this gap in your employment history or not? I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think and write to me in the chat. Are you going to mention your career gap in your CV or not? Is it better to write about it in the CV, or just pass it and lie about it maybe in the CV and don't mention it? Okay. Yes, Sarah is telling us, yes, but we should mention that we did something during that time, like training, volunteer, anything that could help. Another friend here is telling, I don't think so, except the gap was used for volunteering. Another friend here, Rada, is saying, I think we should mention it. And Sanjot is saying, one should mention it if they had active work experience before that. Thank you for everybody who participated. And the answer is yes, never lie, because I believe market is very connected. Maybe you can present it in a written way in your CV, and then to have a ready answer to discuss this further at your interview. I like very much your input, Sarah. Yes, you should mention things chronologically, that yes, maybe I have left my job at December 2020 and I rejoined the workforce at May 2021. So I have a 5-month gap. You have to put it on your CV, but you have to back it up with other stuff that you have done during this gap, this time gap. And you have the trick here is this. If you had maybe a part-time job or a contract job or a project, you have to mention very obviously that this was the type of employment that I had, because it's very important that the HR person, when they are scanning, I don't want them to think that you were hopping from job to job, but to see that maybe this was a part-time job. Maybe I've stayed at this job for a couple of years, and then I left for maybe a 5 months where I had maybe a course to take, an internship I was interested to do, and then I joined another company. So the answer is never lie at your CV, but you have to present it in a good way, not to reflect something wrong about you. So, and we're going to talk about this next time, is how to answer such question in the interview. If you were laid off, if something happened at the company and you had to go, you have to think about how you're going to answer such a tricky question. And as well, you have to be very aware if you were laid off maybe for having poor performance. So you have to be very aware that you were laid off for a reason and to work on this. So if you were asked at the interview, you're going to be able to answer it and show how much you were aware and how much work you have done and effort you have done on this point to avoid happening again. And by the way, people in the HR, they are really flexible. They are really flexible, and they are just, they want to know exactly, maybe someone was laid off for a reason, and actually this reason is going to be the reason they're going to be hired at somewhere else. Maybe they stood up for something there and management wasn't fair, so he was laid off for this reason. So I'm telling you, HR are not very judgmental. They just want to hear and listen exactly the truth answer on why maybe you left this job, and they then start to think and assess you as a person to see if you're having awareness, if you are a bad performer. You know, it's based on your answer, and we're going to discuss this next time, inshallah. Okay, so let's go through the rest of the CV, because I want to tell you some tips about how to write an ATS friendly CV. The ATS is the system I was telling you about at the beginning of the session. This is the system that filters the CV for the HR person. So let me take you through quickly a couple of things on the CV. Then we'll go to the ATS friendly CVs. Okay. Now, many people say that they want to write about their interests and hobbies and anything that's personal on the CV. It's it's a very tricky thing. If you've done it correctly, if you're going to do it correctly, just do it. But you have to make sure that everything that you're writing in your CV is relevant to the job in different ways. And always you do that by writing the reason that's relevant. For example, if you like, maybe as a hobby, you like to play football. So what is going to make football relevant to the job? What does it say about you as a person? If you wrote just, I like football, it's going to be irrelevant totally, and it's going to be skipped. But if you wrote maybe something that I'm a very active person, I like to play football, and I'm very, yes, thank you, Sarah. Thank you. You are a team player. What type of team player are you? Thank you very much, Sarah, for this. Yes, you have to make it relevant to the job and to make it reflecting more about who you are as a person and how this is going to add value to the job and the company. Okay, so let me tell you that if you have made sure that your CV is very to the point, very relevant to the job, everything is all about how you're going to fit at this job. Most probably like 90% or 95% of the time, your CV is going to be approved and go to the next step of the hiring process to have an interview. And because you are actually helping the HR person to make a decision very quickly among the 900 CVs they are checking, that you are having all the keywords. And yes, I would love to meet this person to discuss further their CV. Usually a good CV is not going to be more than 1 or 2 pages. And here you are, now you've passed the human reviewer. Now for the ATS, it's a system that's like scanning your CV, searching for keywords. Remember when we have talked about how you're going to focus on the soft skills, hard skills, and later on I've told you how to choose the action verbs when you're writing exactly your accomplishments or your job responsibilities. This is exactly how the ATS works. And you have to make it very easy for the system to read it. So there is a specific font that's easier for the system to read, something like Times New Roman and Arial. And it's preferable to have a font from 10 to 12 based on the headlines. Maybe if you have a headline, to have it bigger and the rest of the content to be in 10. Okay, I don't recommend using tables or columns because it's going to confuse the system. It's going to skip it. So just try to make it like paragraphs. And you can ask, you can check if you have communicated with the interviewer or the HR person, you can ask them if they want it as for an ATS system, or just send it normally to maybe an inbox or something for the HR. So now you have made the same exercise by getting the job description, searching for the hard skills needed, soft skills needed, and you have to make sure that your CV is all backed up with the keywords relevant to those. And if you are applying for a specific company, most of the companies will mention the job description at the ad. If not, you can check maybe one of the people who are working for the same company and we have their responsibilities written on LinkedIn. You can look it up and make sure to write all the keywords related to this job to formulate your CV in a way to have all the keywords ready for you. So we started with the keywords. The second thing is to make sure that the title written is very relevant to the job. Again, the same example. If you are applying for a marketing job and they used to maybe give you another title, you have to make sure that you are writing the marketing. There must be the word marketing in your job title. Maybe you can write marketing/communication, maybe specialist, but marketing should be one of the keywords because the ATS, it's not giving second thoughts. It's one-time scanning. So if it didn't find the word marketing, it's going to be a skip. Your CV will be skipped totally. And you have to mention your degrees because, again, the system is totally fed with keywords, titles, and maybe degrees, requirements, maybe a specific certificate or a specific level, level of degree, an MBA, for example. And again, we are talking about the truth. If you have the MBA and you're applying for a job that needs an MBA, write it down. If not, you have to work on getting your certificates, but never, ever lie at your CV. These are very, very small tricks and tips to make sure that your CV will pass the first phase of being screened for keywords, for everything related to the job. And if you have done these tips and tricks in your CV, you are going to secure yourself and get yourself a job interview. Now I have finished my tips and tricks. If you have any questions for me that I have maybe didn't mention or something you have in mind, I'll be ready to get some questions in the chat or in the Q&A section. So I'm ready for you guys now if you have anything on mind.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yusra, for the interesting talk. Seriously, it was one of the most valuable, non-slide sessions that I have ever attended. Thank you for that. It was really interesting. Now, I guess we have some questions in the Q&A session or maybe in the chat because I spot some. There is someone asking, what about graduate students? Does the gap start the day they graduate?
What about graduate students? Does the gap start the day they graduate? No. Everybody understands that once you graduate, you will have maybe a couple of months or 3 months that you're getting ready and you're doing interviews, and nobody secures a job from the first interview. You're going to take some time. So no, this is not considered a gap. The gap means that you were working at a job and you leave it for a long period, more than 2 months.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Waiting for the others to ask some questions. I personally have some. I don't want to make it longer for you, but I'm just curious and I want you to give the best of your experience to the students. So what is the best advice you give it for fresh graduates? Do they have to develop themselves during that gap period from graduation, or do you think they could search for non-related jobs to fill that gap?
This is a very good question. And thank you for bringing it up, because maybe I missed telling about what if you have different jobs, that's each job is relevant to different industry, and you're seeking maybe a job at marketing and you have different job titles. From my business experience, it's better to work at any job if you can't find a job. Let's say that we have maybe a crisis and you can't get a job at your field. Just go about any other job, because any job you're going to gain experience. You're going to gain experience and you're going to practice your soft skills. So, for example, maybe I want to work in marketing, but I couldn't find a job at marketing for the meanwhile. So I went for a sales job. All the jobs need soft skills. So as a salesperson, if I have been doing my best, I'll be gaining selling skills, which is very important for everybody, presentation skills, communication skills. So this is how you're going to present it in the interview, and we're going to discuss this further on how can you present all the weakness points maybe to be your strength points. So yes, I have worked in the sales where I gained experience in different skills that's relevant to marketing. Now I understand the customer, how they think, because I was working with clients on the ground. So now as a marketing, my job is to market for the product, and part of the marketing exercise before they market for the job, for the product, is to have a market research to ask the consumers, what do you like about this product and stuff like this. So now you're going to relate between the sales skills that you had, your experience with with everybody in the market, and now you are telling them, this is a skill that I can use in the marketing. So my answer is no, go for any job that's going to add to your experience, and know how exactly to present it in the interview. But I don't, and again, if you're an undergraduate, you have to do your best to get student activities, to participate in it, and to have internships. Do your best and do all the effort to have a CV that's full of activities and stuff that you were doing during your college years, if you have the time, because some people will tell me, I don't have the time. Maybe I'm in a very a very technical college and I don't have the time for this. Do whatever you can with the time you have, and always be very flexible in accepting jobs and gaining experience from any job that's offered to you. Can you review our CV? Yes, sure. I have always been offering to review the undergraduates and the fresh graduate CVs, because I love to help them. So yes, for sure, I'm sure we're gonna be able to connect with you guys to check the CVs. I think Sarah will be able to help on this, right?
Yes, of course.
Is online internship counts and experience? Yes, sure. Everything counts as an experience, even if you are just having maybe a summer activity as a facilitator, maybe at anywhere. Yes, everything counts as an experience, because you gained experience from it. You practiced skills.
Yes, exactly. So back to testimonial parts, okay? I have a question regarding this. So basically, if someone who already have a recommendation for us or made a recommendation for us, can we take some lines of that recommendation and add it as testimonial for our CV?
Yes, if I heard your question right, yes, this is exactly what I was telling at the beginning of the session. Is that if you have a testimonial or recommendation, maybe on LinkedIn or from a recommendation letter, since this person gave you their consent to use their recommendation with their name and title, yes, you can use it anywhere. You can take it as a quotation and put it on your CV. And this is amazing. It really works like wonders, because I'll tell you a secret. Usually employers ask about the employee there's a phase called the reference check when you pass through all the assessments and interviews, and usually they ask you at the end of the phase to give reference. Okay, tell me a name and give me a number for a person I can ask about them about you, or they do just this without asking you for a reference. They just check with the company you used to work for. So imagine if I have this in mind, I'm going to do it later, and you're just presenting to me, okay, check here are some of the recommendations people are telling about me because I'm a very good employee. You can imagine how you're gonna, you just took something I'm gonna do later and you present it to me now. So yes, of course you can do this. And I encourage everybody to do this actually.
Thank you so much for that. Let's see if the audience have more questions, or maybe we can close this session.
Yes.
So if anyone has some questions, please type them in the Q&A session or in the chat so we can read them.
Yes, we can give them maybe a couple of minutes and then we can close this session. For the practical virtual internship, like the one delivered by Petru, what kind of action verbs or words can we use to efficiently highlight what we have learned? Again, I'm not sure exactly what's the content of the internship, but if Ali, if you have made a very simple search on Google and you wrote active verbs for writing or formulating the CV, you're going to find a huge list of verbs that you can use expressing the experience you had on this practical virtual internship. Just do the search, active verbs for CVs.
Thank you so much for the satisfying answers that you delivered and the valuable tips for our attendees. So I guess will be okay. We have another question.
Will you share with us an email to send it for review session? Yes, let me arrange with the Professor Ahmed and Sarah if they are going to send you an email or how we're going to do this. But I'm really excited to see your CVs, guys, and give you feedback on it through the email. There is a question on the Q&A for people who did not have the chance to do a lot of internships. Does that count as a disadvantage? Well, it's not going to be taken as a disadvantage, but it's always an advantage to have more activities done. Okay. So it's an advantage to always have an internship and activities, but it's not a disadvantage. But the reason why, if you can share with me, you don't have the time, maybe you have a very practical college, you don't have the time for internships or what? If you have a very good reason to just focus on your studies, then it's not a disadvantage. You have been very committed to your studies. So no, it's not a disadvantage, just you have to think of why you don't have internships. If it's your studies, then no, you're committed. I hope you answered your question, Taha.
Okay, thank you so much. Probably I have a question about our next session, please, if that's possible.
Yes.
Yeah, will be any interview simulation?
You mean to do an interview live?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we can do that, of course. If we have if people are ready, or if you want to do this like a role play, me and you, of course, we can do this.
Okay, inshallah, why not? Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much for your attendance, and thank you, Ms. Yusra, again for the fruitful talk. I personally learned many things today, and I will have to go through my CV again and check all the things that you mentioned. So as I wish our audience will do the same thing and implement your advice. So it was also a pleasure to have you and meet you in screen. Thank you so much for that. So for those who missed our last session, make sure to review it on YouTube channel and submit the assigned quizzes and the final exam on times to receive your certificate at the end. I believe this is the end of our presentation. I give you date on February 19 with another interesting session with Miss Yusra as well. Please stay faithful and follow us on YouTube channel and Facebook group for more updates and events. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice day and goodbye, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Goodbye.